Welcome to the second part of your digestive system video. So we're now going to be looking at fats. Fats are classified into saturated, monosaturated or polyunsaturated categories. Saturated fats can be found in dairy products and meat, and monounsaturated fats can be found in olive oil and avocados. Polyunsaturated fats can be found in sunflower oil and oily fish. Some polyunsaturated fats cannot be made by the body, so they are classified as essential fats and they must be consumed in your diet. In order to be used by the body, fats must be broken down to fatty acids and glycerol. Fats are broken down into the body by the following process. In the small intestine, fats are emulsified by bile, salts from the liver, and in the small intestine, lipase from the pancreas break down emulsified fats into fatty acids and glycerol, ready for absorption. We are now going to be looking at what is a carbohydrate. So carbohydrates are classified as monosaccharides, disaccharides or polysaccharides. Monosaccharides include fructose in fruit, and then you have polysaccharides which include starch and fibre, and these can be found in cereals, potatoes and other plant sources. And then you have disaccharides, which is included in lactose in milk. All carbohydrates are broken down to monosaccharides for absorption and will all eventually become glucose to supply the body with energy. We're going to be looking at how the carbohydrates are broken down. So carbohydrates are broken down in the body by the following process. In the mouth, salivary amylase begins the breakdown of polysaccharides. In the small intestine, intestinal amylase breaks down polysaccharides to disaccharides. And then you have, the small intestine, maltase, lactase and sucrase convert disaccharides into monosaccharides ready for absorption. So what the small intestine actually does. The small intestine, ironically, isn't that small. It's 7 metres long. You have three parts, the duodenum, the jejunum and the ileum. There are several layers to the wall, including a muscular layer, a layer containing blood vessels, lymph vessels and nerves, and an inner mucous membrane. The inner wall is covered with villi, tiny little finger-like projections, and this increases the surface area, and it's where absorption it contains a network of blood and lymph vessels. The small intestine actually is the completion of the chemical digestion of food, and the subsequent absorption of nutrients takes place in the small intestine. Nutrients are absorbed through the villi into the blood and lymph vessels. Hardly any other food is absorbed elsewhere in the digestive system. So let's have a look at the type of actions that are absorbed. We are going to be looking at the mouth salivary glands. These secrete salivary amylase, and the action is that it converts starch into shorter chain polysaccharides. The stomach secretes renin, which coagulates milk into curds in infants, hydrochloric acid, which neutralises bacteria, and pepsin, which coagulates proteins into peptones. The duodenum secretes pancreatic juice, so you've got your trypsin, lipase and amylase, and it converts peptones into shorter chain polypeptides, converts fats into fatty acids and glycerol, and amylase, which converts polysaccharides into disaccharides. The duodenum also secretes bile, which emulsifies fat. The small intestine, from the villi, secretes intestinal juice, so your maltase, sucrase and lactase, and your peptases. These converts disaccharides into monosaccharides and activates trypsin in pancreatic juice, and it converts polypeptides into amino acids. So we're going to be looking at other functions of the small intestine. It protects the digestive system from infection. It's the only section of the digestive system with a direct link to the protective lymphatic system. Looking at the large intestine now, it actually deals with waste. It's 1.5 metres long and sits draped around the small intestine in an arch shape. It consists of the caecum, the appendix, the colon, the rectum, the anal canal and the anus. The function is to reabsorb water and nutrients from the digested food and get rid of waste. Whatever remains of the food, once it's been through the processing of mixing, conversion and absorption carried out in the stomach and the small intestine, is passed into the large intestine. Any remaining nutrients are removed and the result is faeces. Faeces is the unwanted leftover from food combined with cellulose, which is roughage from indigestible food, and dead blood cells, bacteria, fatty acids and mucus. The colour comes from the dead blood cells and a bile pigment. There are several other organs involved in the digestive process. We have the tongue, teeth and salivary glands, liver, pancreas and gallbladder. They are known as accessory organs because although they do not form part of the gastrointestinal tract, they help the digestive process by breaking down food and the toxins and waste produced during digestion. The role of the tongue, teeth and salivary gland has been mentioned earlier. So let's look at the liver. The structure is the largest gland in the body. The liver sits at the top of the abdomen, just below the diaphragm and just above to the right of the medial line. It's vital because it performs many essential functions. So we're going to be looking at these essential functions. One of them is that it removes toxins from drugs, alcohol and harmful substances. It's nitrogen from amino acid. It stores vitamin A, B12, D, E and K. It's iron from the breakdown of red blood cells and food. It produces heat, vitamin A, vitamin D, heparin, plasma proteins, bile, uric acid and urea. And it converts stored fat into other fat products like cholesterol, glycogen to glucose, which is when energy is needed, and glucose back to glycogen in presence of insulin. And it metabolizes protein. So let's move on to the next excessive organ, which is the gallbladder. The structure of the gallbladder is that it's a pear-shaped sac attached to the cystic and bile ducts of the posterior of the liver. Whenever there is excess bile secreted by the liver, which can't be used immediately for digestion, the bile passes first along the bile duct and then along the cystic duct to the gallbladder, where it will be stored until it's needed. The function of the gallbladder is that it's a reservoir for bile, secretes mucus to add to bile, absorbs water from the bile and making it more concentrated, and it contracts in order to empty bile into the duodenum. Pancreas is a gland situated beyond the stomach. It's just behind it, between the duodenum and the spleen. It delivers pancreatic juices to the duodenum through the pancreatic duct. The cells of the pancreas are divided into islets and a network of alveoli. The alveoli are lined with cells that produce enzymes. The function of the gallbladder is that it works with the pancreas, the digestive system and the endocrine system. It produces enzymes to break down food, the hormone insulin, which regulates the blood sugar level after eating by causing the conversion of glucose to glycogen for storage in the liver and the muscles, and the hormone glucagon, which converts glycogen back to glucose. Pancreatic juices contain lipase, amylase and trypsin. So we're going to briefly look at what insulin is. Insulin is a hormone secreted by specialised cells in the pancreas. It regulates blood sugar levels. When we eat, the blood sugar level rises. The sugar in the blood is in the form of glucose. Insulin helps cell absorb glucose and turn any excessive glucose into glycogen, which is an insoluble sugar, which is stored in the liver until the body needs it. Thus, the blood sugar level then drops. A lack of insulin causes diabetes. Type 1 diabetes is the cause of autoimmune damage to the pancreas, resulting in low or no insulin production. Type 2 diabetes is strongly linked to obesity, and although insulin may still be produced, it's unable to work properly in the body. In either type, glucose cannot be properly absorbed into the body, resulting in the following symptoms: dangerously high level of blood sugar, loss of glucose through excretion, thirst, and excessive urine production. We're going to have a look at bile now. Bile is a thick liquid produced by the liver as a result of breakdown of red blood cells. It contains salts, bile pigments, acids and water. The function is that it emulsifies fats, stimulating peristalsis and creating alkaline conditions in the small intestine. You will now need to study in your work pack the diseases and the disorders of this system.